Welcome to In the Zone Sports. This is your boy Anthony Smith. So happy to be with you. The first day of August 2021. Got some news to bring to you. As you know, last week was the NBA draft. But there was also a trade that took place. A homecoming of sorts for one player. And one player had one word reaction to the trade. Let's just get on into this. LeBron James, one word reaction to Russell Westbrook trade to Lakers. Let's get on in this right now. The Los Angeles Lakers stole the show on NBA draft night by agreeing on a huge blockbuster trade that sends Russell Westbrook to the Lakers to team up with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Well, King James took to Instagram to share his feelings about acquiring Westbrook, a move that caught a ton of people off guard in the process. Westbrook and James have been hanging out a lot recently, and people have been speculating about the pair teaming up for years. Well, it's finally a reality, and now the trio of Westbrook, Davis, and James has a lot of people excited. The Lakers dealt Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Montrezl Harrell, Kyle Kuzma, and some draft capital in order to take on Westbrook, but their insistence of putting a third star next to LeBron and Davis was one that was going to materialize at some point over the summer. LeBron James is excited. Anthony Davis is excited, and Russell Westbrook must be excited to return home as well, given that he played college ball at UCLA. The Lakers have a lot to look forward to, and rest assured they are far from done just yet with free agency around the corner. Oh yes, there's some more to come. In saying that, how about this report right here? There's an individual who wants to come back again. Not one, not two, but 3 times. Oh, can't you just hear the song? Once, twice, 3 times a lady. Anyway, the NBA world reacts to the Dwight Howard news. The Los Angeles Lakers made one of the biggest moves of the offseason this past week when they traded for Washington Wizards point guard Russell Westbrook. Westbrook, a California native, reportedly informed the Wizards that he would like a trade and, if possible, get moved to the Lakers. Washington was able to get that done, receiving a package of players and a draft pick for the superstar guard. The Lakers, however, might not be done making notable moves either. According to a report, former Lakers big man Dwight Howard has informed those close to him that he'd like to play for Los Angeles again. Here are some of the reaction. Mark Stein at the Stein line. Dwight Howard back to the Lakers? My pal at BA_Turner describes him as ready to return here. Howard, 35, has had 2 different stints with the Lakers. His first stint from 2012-13 did not go very well. The Lakers built a super team of Howard, Kobe Bryant, and Steve Nash, but the group failed to live up to expectations. The All-Star big man then returned to the Lakers in 2019-2020. He was part of a Lakers team that won the NBA Finals inside the Orlando bubble. Now, Howard wants to return for stint number 3. Many Laker fans seem to be on board with the idea. Wouldn't mind it at all. Bring in Melo on a vet man as well, one fan wrote. Other fans are joking about the possible Lakers lineup in 2021-22. Russ, Bron, Melo, AD, Howard is the Lakers starting lineup we all deserve, one fan added. Howard isn't the only notable name interested in a Lakers return either. A tweet from NBA Central at the NBA Central. Wayne Ellington and Dwight Howard are interested in returning to the Lakers per LA Times. The Lakers are coming off of a disappointing first-round exit this past postseason. However, LeBron James and company appear determined to reset the roster heading into the 2021-22 season. The post-NBA world reacts to Dwight Howard news appeared first on The Spun. So there you have that little tidbit about pretty much the Lakers to get things started. However, more Lakers news. Magic Johnson is making some more news. Magic Johnson warns LeBron James of Kevin Durant, Giannis Antetokounmpo taking his throne. Giannis Antetokounmpo's dominant outing in Game 6 of the NBA Finals has captivated the entire sporting spectrum. Antetokounmpo dropped 50 points, 14 rebounds, 5 blocks, and 2 assists while making 17 of 19 free throw attempts in a closeout game to win his first title. The Phoenix Suns simply had no answer for Antetokounmpo's strategy. At times, Antetokounmpo settled for jumpers, which is a rare weakness in his game, but he usually put his head down and made a move to the basket. His superiority on both ends of the floor has lifted him in the conversation as arguably the best basketball player in the world, along with Brooklyn Nets star Kevin Durant. Durant, who suffered an Achilles injury 2 seasons ago that should have derailed his production, has bounced back and is still the lethal, unstoppable offensive threat he has always been. But in the eyes of Los Angeles Lakers legend Magic Johnson, LeBron James is still the king on the throne. However, if James doesn't lead LA to a title next season, Antetokounmpo and Durant could make a run for the crown. Magic tweeted out, "Watch out, LeBron, KD, and Giannis are right there coming for your throne." James, 36, is coming off a year mired with an ankle injury that prevented him from playing in 27 games, which he said never returned to 100%, even after he came back to the court. The Lakers will need to build a stronger roster for next season to optimize the current title window open under James and Anthony Davis. The Lakers are slated to have over 10 free agents this offseason, so tough decisions will need to be made by the front office. Los Angeles is reportedly interested in Russell Westbrook and Chris Paul, so if a player of that caliber lands in LA, James will have the surrounding talent he needs to compete for his 5th championship and remain on the throne. So there you have that news. Stay tuned though. I have some more to bring to you. You're in the zone, locked in the zone, with yours truly, Anthony Smith. Got some more to come, so stick around. Welcome back. You're locked in the zone. Anthony Smith in the zone. Started out with a little bit of NBA news centered around the Lakers and their acquisition of Russell Westbrook and the possibility of maybe Dwight Howard coming back, and it seems as if there may be some fans on board with that. So as you listen to this podcast, I'd like to know what you would think. Feel free to leave some comments. Anyway, I want to shift into a little bit of college football, as college football is around the season. And what I want to do is I want to take a look at Athlon Sports All-America team. And their first team looks like this. At quarterback, Spencer Rattler, 6'1", 205-pound sophomore out of Oklahoma. Running back, Breece Hall, 6'1", 215-pound junior out of Iowa State. Running back, Bijan Robinson, 6 foot, 215-pound sophomore out of Texas. Then you have an all-purpose player, Jerion Ely, 5'8", 190-pound sophomore out of Ole Miss. Wide receiver, Chris Olave, 6'1", 189-pound senior out of Ohio State. Wide receiver, Justin Ross, 6'4", 205-pound junior out of Clemson. Tight end, Charlie Kolar, 6'6", 257-pound senior out of Iowa State. Center, Tyler Linderbaum, 6'3", 289-pound junior out of Iowa. Offensive line, Darian Kennard, 6'5", 338-pound senior out of Kentucky. Offensive line, Kenyon Green, 6'4", 325-pound junior out of Texas A&M. Offensive line, Evan Neal, 6'7", 360-pound junior out of Alabama. Offensive line, Thayer Munford, 6'6", 321-pound senior out of Ohio State. Now looking at the first team defense. Defensive line, Kayvon Thibodeau, 6'5", 250-pound sophomore out of Oregon. Defensive line, Brian Breezy, 6'5", 300-pound sophomore out of Clemson. Defensive line, DeMarvin Leo, 6'4", 290-pound junior out of Texas A&M. Defensive line, Haskell Garrett, 6'2", 300-pound senior out of Ohio State. Linebacker, Nick Bonito, 6'3", 238-pound junior out of Oklahoma. Linebacker, Will Anderson Jr., 6'4", 235-pound sophomore out of Alabama. Linebacker, Mike Rose, 6'4", 245-pound senior out of Iowa State. Cornerback, Derek Stingley Jr., 6'1", 195-pound junior out of LSU. Cornerback, Ahmad Gardner, 6'2", 188-pound junior out of Cincinnati. Safety, Kyle Hamilton, 6'4", 219-pound junior out of Notre Dame. Safety, Brandon Joseph, 6'1", 192-pound sophomore out of Northwestern. First team specialist, kicker, Cade York, 6'1", 198-pound junior out of LSU. Punter, Jake Camarada, 6'2", 180-pound senior out of Georgia. Kick returner, Aaron Cruikshank, 5'10", 160-pound junior out of Rutgers. And punt returner, Marcus Jones, 5'8", 185-pound junior out of Houston, home of the Cougars. Got some more to bring to you. And what I'm going to do is, as I get geared up to bring you my college football preview, there are right now 15 things to watch coming up in the 2021 season. But what I'm going to do is I am going to bring you 5 of them. So hold tight. This could take a little bit, but just bear with me, and I will get these to you. And in the days to come, I will bring you more, and we will start looking at conferences and how the conferences may shape up to get you ready for the upcoming college football season. So let's start with this list of 15 things to watch in 2021, starting with number 1, the usual suspects. College football playoff was a long anticipated, hard-won development, and entering its 8th year of existence, you'd be hard-pressed to find anyone in the sport who doesn't consider the bracket a great leap forward over what came before it. At the same time, As expansion fever reached critical mass last winter, it was harder than ever to deny that the 14 format was already beginning to feel a bit stale. And it's no wonder why, year in, year out, it continues to be monopolized by the same four teams. Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, and Oklahoma have thoroughly dominated the playoff era, accounting for a combined 22 conference championships since 2014, 20 of the 28 available CFP slots, and 17 of 21 CFP victories. Since 2015, some combination of the Crimson Tide, Tigers, Buckeyes, and or Sooners has made up 3/4 of the playoff field in 6 consecutive seasons, while only one other team in that span, Notre Dame in 2018 and 20, has managed to crack the field more than once. The only playoff game to date that hasn't featured at least one of the Big Four was the very first one, a January 1, 2015 match between Oregon and Florida State. That's bordering on an ancient history. Not to spoil the suspense or anything, but surprise, Bama, Clemson, Oklahoma, and Ohio State look like the obvious frontrunners again in 2021. Nor is there any end to their reign in sight. If anything, the tendency of top recruits to flock to the increasingly exclusive club of national contenders is only widening the gap. According to 24/7 Sports composite recruiting rankings, the top 5 incoming classes in both 2020 and 21 coincided exactly with the 5 programs with at least one playoff win in the past 4 years: Bama, Clemson, OSU, Georgia, and LSU. Until that changes, everyone else is relegated to dark horse status at best, while waiting for the field to expand. Number 2, great expectations. It used to be that breaking in a new starting quarterback was an automatic red flag for any team with serious championship ambitions. Even more so when the outgoing starter was a proven highly decorated winner on the level of Alabama's Mac Jones, Ohio State's Justin Fields, or Clemson's Trevor Lawrence. Not anymore. In an era defined by prolific QB-friendly spread offenses across all levels of the sport, the learning curve for young signal callers has never been shorter, and rising blue chip talents like Bama's Bryce Young, Ohio State's C.J. Stroud, and Clemson's DJ Uiagalelei, all second-year players moving into featured roles for contenders with no patience for rebuilding, have never been better prepared to rise to the occasion. Young, Stroud, and Uiagalelei share hype and geography, having emerged as top prospects while playing within an hour's drive of one another in Southern California. But little else. At 6'4", 250 pounds, Uiagalelei is a massive presence in the pocket with an arm to match. Clemson fans got a preview of his potential last year when he threw for a combined 781 yards and 4 touchdowns with no picks in a pair of mid-season starts versus Boston College and Notre Dame. The 6'194" pound Young is on the opposite end of the spectrum, earning mandatory comparisons to Russell Wilson and Kyler Murray. His contributions to Bama's championship run as a freshman were limited to flashes in garbage time. Stroud, 6'3", 215 pounds, falls somewhere in between and has yet to give a glimpse of his skills. He spent the spring splitting reps with redshirt freshman Jack Miller III and 5-star signee Cal McCord. All 3 are legitimate Heisman candidates with the luxury of operating behind veteran offensive lines and throwing to receivers bound for the next level. With that, though, comes very little margin for error or time to grow into the position. Early non-conference dates with Georgia, Miami, and Oregon respectively are significant tests for Ugalele, Young, and Stroud, with very significant implications on how the playoff race will unfold. Number 3, Georgia. Can JT Daniels deliver? No position in college football has been more heavily scrutinized over the past few years than Georgia's starting quarterback, and at no point has the situation looked as bleak as it did last year following the season-defining losses to Alabama and Florida. Enter JT Daniels and cue the choir. After sitting out the first 6 games with a lingering knee injury, the former USC transfer lived up to his 5-star billing and then some down the stretch, averaging 10.3 yards per attempt with 10 TDs, 2 interceptions, and a stellar 178.5 passer rating in his 4 starts. The bowl game, a dramatic come-from-behind win over unbeaten Cincinnati, capped a 4-game win streak to close out the year and reset expectations for 2021 to Georgia's default setting, playoff or bust. Like Alabama's, Georgia's roster is one of the few with the baseline talent level to compete for championships on an annual basis, regardless of turnover. Unlike Bama, almost all of Georgia's key personnel on offense are back, including second-year coordinator Todd Monken and virtually everyone who touched the ball. Monken was hired to breathe life into a stagnant downfield passing game, and with Daniels' arms, he'll have all the firepower he needs to make good on that mission. Last year's top 4 targets, George Pickens, Karis Jackson, Jermaine Burton, and Darnell Washington, were all freshmen and sophomores, who collectively averaged 16.1 yards on 54 catches in Daniels' starts. Over a full season, they have as much raw big play potential as any receiving corps in the country, although Pickens' status is in serious doubt after a spring ACL tear. It won't take long to find out how well that potential translates into reality. Georgia opens against another mainstay in the playoff race, Clemson, which faces plenty of question marks of its own, coming off a semifinal beatdown at the hands of Ohio State. The anticipation for that one and the long-term impact will be dialed up to 11. Yes, we still have some more to come. As we look at number 4, the 5th wheel. Among the Power 5 conferences, the push to expand the playoff field has come most urgently from the Pac-12 for obvious reasons. The league was largely out of sight, out of mind in 2020, primarily due to a chaotic COVID-shortened schedule that delayed the start of the season into November and limited teams to as few as 4 games. The eventual champions, Oregon, only qualified for the conference title game as a replacement for the actual North Division champion, Washington, after the Huskies were DQ'd by coronavirus protocols. It was that kind of year. Predictably, the West Coast was excluded from the playoff conversation altogether, but it hasn't fared much better in the national pecking order in more normal times either. The Pac-12 champ has managed to crack the playoff just once in the last 6 years, Washington in 2016. And every year the drought wears on seems to set the Conference of Champions a little further behind in its peers in both reputation and revenue. A big part of that is the absence of a single dominant team that lords over the rest of the league with anywhere near the consistency that Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, and Oklahoma have over theirs. Parity has its benefits, but promoting a powerhouse team to the spot's biggest stage is rarely one of them. There are candidates in the North. Oregon is knocking on the door of national relevance under fourth-year head coach Mike Cristobal. Junior defensive end Kayvon Thibodeau might be the best player in college football in 2021, and Washington's not going anywhere under second-year coach Jimmy Lake. In the South, as ever, USC's talent base guarantees that the Trojans are never more than a year away behind junior quarterback Keydon Slovis and aspiring NFL first-rounder. This could be the year. Without a breakout in the non-conference slate, though, see Oregon and USC's trips to Ohio State and Notre Dame respectively, even a competitive, compelling conference race is unlikely to command much attention east of the Rockies. With longtime Pac-12 Commissioner Larry Scott on his way out this summer, changing that dynamic will be his successor's first priority. And looking at number 5, hope you're ready for this. Cincinnati. Too good to ignore. Outside of the Power 5 conferences, the reigning powerhouse resides in Cincinnati. Fifth-year coach Luke Fickell, an Ohio lifer, has built the Bearcats in the defensively minded mold of an old-school Big Ten team, racking up a 31-6 record over the past 3 seasons, and in 2020, an American Athletic Conference championship. Abbreviated schedule or not, that outfit had an argument as the best in school history, starting 9-0 with 3 wins over opponents that were ranked at kickoff: Army, SMU, and Tulsa, before taking Georgia to the wire in a last-second loss in the Peach Bowl. And the 2021 edition has a chance to be better. Besides Fickell, who remains a go-to candidate for any big vacancy, holdovers from last year's run include the AAC's Offensive Player of the Year, senior quarterback Desmond Ridder, along with 5 of his top 6 targets, and defensive headliners Myjai Sanders, Ahmad Gardner, and Kobe Bryant. If only winning over the playoff committee were as easy as winning games. Despite its perfect record, Cincinnati peaked at number 8 last year in the committee's weekly top 25, matching the high water mark by any group of 5 teams in the playoff era. Undefeated UCF also landed at number 8 in 2018, but coming nowhere near cracking the top 4 itself, even coming in behind 3-loss Florida in the final ledger. The message was loud and clear: short of expansion, or at least an eye-opening non-conference upset, teams outside of the major leagues are doomed to irrelevance in the national race. Unlike last year, the Bearcats have some opportunities to tick the upset box this time around. Cincinnati has back-to-back non-conference games at Indiana and Notre Dame, 2 teams that finished in the top 15 last season. Pull those off, take care of business in the AAC, and by December, a known contender boasting an undefeated resume with 2 big road wins would pose the strongest challenge to the committee's group of 5 skepticism to date. If that's not enough to break through, it might be time to concede that nothing ever will be. Well, thank you for tuning in to In the Zone. Hope you have enjoyed today's episode as much as I enjoyed bringing it to you. Like I say, I will be back again tomorrow because I have so much more to give you. Like I say, we're going to be getting ready for college football. So I will be looking at the Power 5 conferences and some of the lesser conferences And as a bonus, I'm also going to be looking at schools, the HBCUs. That's right, the MEAC and the SWAC. So you're going to get it all right here on In the Zone with yours truly, Anthony Smith. So until the next time, take care of yourself and each other. And always remember to stay locked into the zone.